Hey, HABW, I'm Dr. Megan Pickens, your HABW coach and therapist. So today I want to name something that I see all the time, and that is being the reasonable one is often seen as maturity, but it also comes at a cost. What I see is that you learn to stay calm when things stay tense, no matter how tense they are. You explain instead of express, and then you de-escalate instead of react, even in situations where that is warranted, and maybe you should escalate or react, but you don't because you want to keep the peace. And you get praised for it, for being, level-headed, the one that's easy to talk to, somebody who does not make things harder. But that does not always mean that you're happy. I think about in terms of couples who come in and say, "Oh, we never argue." My first thought is actually red flag because I'm thinking, okay, well then someone is not talking, somebody's not speaking their truth. And I don't mean full on argument like knockdown drag out, but I mean that you're telling me that every single thing in your relationship is agreeable. And when I hear that, I think somebody is compromising and somebody is doing more compromising than the other person. And so over time, that being reasonable become, well, I tore that word up. Over time, becoming reasonable or being seen as reasonable becomes an expectation. So then when you really do want to say something or push back, then it's like, oh my goodness, people can't believe it. They don't know how to react to you because you've always been the easygoing. You just go along to get along. You don't want to rock the boat. And then your reactions, your own feelings start to feel like they're negotiable. But then other people, they get to be emotional. They get to have their feelings. They get to act off how they feel or get what they expect um in certain situations because they're not the reasonable one. So if the person who always goes off all the time, people are often going to let them have what they want because they want such and such to calm down. So they always end up getting their way. But you, the reasonable person, don't get your way because everybody is um, bending for the person who is unreasonable. This isn't emotional intelligence. I wouldn't even call it emotional intelligence, even though some people would. In my eyes, it's more like emotional containment. It's holding back. It's you not getting what you want because you're not asking for what you want. You are just letting other people allow you to miss out on what you actually want just to keep the peace. And keeping the peace is not always keeping the peace. Being reasonable really isn't the problem. It's just never being able to react. That's what the problem is. If you're only expected to be reasonable, because you could just be a reasonable person, let's say 90% of the time, but that 10% is still important. What if you don't agree? What if you want to do something differently? People still want you to be the reasonable one while everybody else gets their way, being unreasonable. You're not imagining this.